If Jake Paul wasn't Jake Paul, if he wasn't this YouTube guy, he was just a boxer, and you see a boxer knock out the former UFC welterweight champion, not just the former, but one of the best ever. I don't think that power carries quite as much with those bigger guys. It's a little bit of a step. It's a step up, you know, like that. There's very few guys that keep that power as they keep going up and up and up in weight.
A lot of people think it's funny, like, oh, you're gonna fight Canelo, like you're saying you're gonna beat Canelo, like you're out of your mind, you lost to Tommy Fury in a split decision, how are you gonna beat Canelo?
Jake Paul is expected to challenge Canelo Alvarez in May 2025. Joe Rogan doubts this bout will happen, stating Canelo's got a lot of things he's doing. He doesn't have any time to be waiting around for Jake Paul. He further says everyone knows Canelo is a huge money fight. That's why everyone wants to fight him. Canelo is a large payday. Rogan remains skeptical, querying whether the fight will actually happen given Canelo's busy schedule.
This is very fucking dangerous. Very dangerous.
And there's always somebody coming right behind you. And these guys who've been at the top so long, you're like, all right, let me get somebody that's on my level. Canelo, he's been in the game just as long as me. And all right, let's just do this for this paycheck and then move on.
I think when they get to a certain level and they realize they only have a few fights left, they want the big money fights. And Canelo is obviously the biggest money fight. Even though Boots Ennis is a great fighter, most people don't know who he is yet.
Yeah.
And with Canelo, everybody knows who Canelo is. If you get the Canelo fight, that's red panties night.
Joe Rogan believes that people don't like Jake Paul simply because he started as a YouTuber. According to Rogan, many refuse to acknowledge that Paul is a legitimate boxer. However, he argues that Paul has already proven himself by defeating multiple UFC champions.
If Jake Paul wasn't Jake Paul, if he wasn't this YouTube guy, he was just a boxer, and you see a boxer knock out the former UFC welterweight champion, not just the former, but one of the best ever, knock him out with one punch like that, like, oh man, have you seen this Jake Paul dude coming up? He's for real. Because nothing about watching him fight, to me, screams like he's in over his head. Nothing. He looks like a real boxer.
Rogan acknowledges Paul's dedication and states that he is a great boxer despite the criticism he endures.
Do you think you can still throw down? Like if it had to happen? Like if Jake Paul called you out?
Well, he'd probably fuck me up.
Really?
He's a good boxer. He's a good boxer.
What if it was kickboxing? He doesn't really know how to kickbox.
A younger man and I had good knees, I could be kickboxing people, but I could barely get through a workout without being in pain now. There's a reality of knees and fat.
During a discussion, Joe Rogan and Post Malone both agreed that Canelo Alvarez is an absolute beast in the ring. Canelo's dominant skill and power make him one of the greatest boxers of this generation. They emphasized his incredible career and how he continues to take on the toughest challenges.
Beast.
He's a beast.
He's a beast.
He's a beast.
Like I'm talking more about Jake. I want to see a UFC fight.
You want to see a UFC fight with Jake?
Yeah.
Well, he's not going to fight for the UFC.
Well, no,
he's
or
got a
MMA fight. MMA fight.
He'll
I'm
do
so
an
sorry.
MMA. He's got a contract with the PFL, which is another organization. They're throwing a lot of money around. They just signed Francis Ngannou, and Jake has a contract with them. So if he has an MMA fight, I think it has to be over there.
Many boxing professionals are skeptical about Jake Paul versus Canelo actually happening. The biggest reason is that Canelo is already busy preparing for his fight against Terence Crawford in September. Given that Canelo has his focus on facing another elite opponent, most experts believe he won't entertain the idea of fighting Jake Paul anytime soon.
You said that you'd like to go up against Canelo Alvarez. What gives you the right to call out a 59-2 boxer, one of the greatest of all time, when you've not yet proven yourself?
I'm predicting what's going to happen three more years from now.
So I'm
going to get to his skill level and beat him. I have one of the greatest self-belief systems in the world, and I know what I'm capable of. And with this new team, I can give Canelo a serious run for his money.
Would you ever do like exhibitions like that, or like people like Jake Paul call you out, or these like other big stars? Like, is that business-wise like even worth it?
When I'm done with boxing, why not? Maybe I'll do it. I think it's...
Like when you're done like competing at the highest level, you're saying?
Yeah, I think it's good because what happened there is other people who never watch boxing, or they don't know anything about boxing, they want to watch Jake Paul because he's coming from... He bring fans from other world, right? Yeah. That's good because everybody enjoy it.
Would you ever entertain that idea when you're done?
Maybe.
Max, a boxing analyst, believes that while Jake Paul wants to fight Canelo, the Mexican superstar won't entertain the idea. According to Max, Canelo is not interested in turning boxing into an entertainment show. He sees Jake Paul as someone who is bringing entertainment rather than real competition, and he does not consider Paul a worthy opponent for Canelo.
Max?
Yeah.
Will we actually see this fight?
It's not impossible. He has 0% chance to beat Canelo Alvarez. This is the worst guy he could fight is Canelo Alvarez. The worst thing he can do.
No. Tell us why.
Because Canelo Alvarez is not playing games.
Thank you.
That's what I'm saying. Everything is muscle memory since he was a kid. He was a natural. He's fought every fighter there is. He's beaten light heavyweights, and he's a natural counterpuncher. You come to him, he just beats the hell out of you. There's no way in any universe Jake Paul could ever beat Canelo Alvarez. But I love the fact that he thinks he can. I love that about both Paul brothers. This is how it could happen, okay? How a fight could. He has to beat Tyron Woodley. That's not easy. Then he has to beat a striker in their prime, because Woodley's not in his prime anymore, right? Still an MMA guy, not a full-time boxer in his prime. Then he'd be 5-0. Then he needs to beat a striker who's his size and in his prime, but from MMA, so he still hasn't fought a boxer. He's 6-0. Then he needs to fight a pro boxer. Could be an inexperienced guy, but he's got to fight him. That's 7-0. Beat a more experienced pro boxer, 8-0. Beat a pro boxer his own size, 9-0. Beat a more experienced pro boxer his own size. He'd be 10-0, and now he's ready for an 8-round fight against a real fighter, right? Then you got to beat that guy. It takes a while to build up a world-class 10-round fighter, and he'll always be at a disadvantage against guys with amateur backgrounds because they have muscle memory. We saw it in UFC 264. Stephen A., remember the Hardy fight? Mm-hmm. So he's fighting a guy with muscle memory. Hardy's an athlete.
Jake Paul has always emphasized that he sets big goals for himself. He believes that putting these fights together helps him push his limits. According to Paul, challenging Canelo is a way to put pressure on himself, which helps him grow as a fighter. He is determined to achieve his dreams, even if people doubt him.
Champion. And then for your girlfriend, Yuta, to win Olympic gold.
Yeah, we just have all the belts.
That's insane.
In the world.
That's crazy.
And then we should just retire after that.
So look, are you happy with your performance in the fight? Are you happy with the way the night went down?
I wish he would have put up a better fight, so then I could have risen more and done more. And he was surviving.
He was.
So
before you went out,
it's worked up. But I think that everybody just wants him to win, wanted Mike to win. But
dude, people really don't like us, Jake. People really want to see you get knocked out.
Yeah, what did I ever do to anyone?
Well, you climbed on top of the KTLA news van.
Hilarious.
You wasted the government's money.
How?
Because the FBI had to raid your house.
They wasted their own money. They wasted their own money. Why would they do that? I didn't. And then nothing ever came from it. They didn't even know what they were doing there.
Even though Jake Paul himself tweeted about the potential fight, many people still refuse to believe it will happen. Some label it impossible, while others discount it as a mere rumor. However, Ad Oledo believes that Canelo might actually accept the fight. According to Oledo, this could be an easy money fight for Canelo, which might tempt him to take the offer.
All right, let's do this. Canelo versus Crawford, confirmed. Not a rumor, not speculation, not he said, she said, or someone leaking the story. Confirmed. And I guess the confirmation doesn't get much more rock solid than the Ring Magazine putting this story out first. Ring Magazine, obviously owned by Turkey. Turkey would have been the one to put this deal together, and Turkey would have had to given the green light for the Ring Magazine to even put that story out. That's as confirmation as you need it. That's it. The fight will happen in September. Touch wood, no injuries. Wow. Easily the biggest fight of 2025. I said a few days ago, Benavidez Morale was my most intriguing fight of 2025. Obviously, that's now been put down to second place because this has been announced. Nothing can be announced to top this.
One of the biggest discussions surrounding this potential fight is its broadcasting platform. If Jake Paul versus Canelo happens on Netflix, it would likely explode the internet, given the platform's massive global reach and the hype surrounding Paul. This event could break streaming records and introduce boxing to an even wider audience.
Canelo Alvarez versus Jake Paul in May. That's what ESPN Boxeo, ESPN in Spanish is reporting. ESPN in Spanish does 1,000,000 times better than ESPN in English when it comes to boxing. It's just factual. So I really trust their relationship in the boxing world versus the American counterpart, that it's always hit or miss. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they take sources, they don't source where they got it from. But ESPN in Spanish is saying it's very serious talks between Canelo Alvarez and Jake Paul to fight in the USA in May, and it's going to be a joint promotion from Canelo Promotions, from MVP Promotions, and from PBC. I've heard about this fight about 5 months ago, that there was talks about it happening. I couldn't really run with it because it didn't look like that was the direction, but anything is possible. And Jake Paul did tease that he has a big announcement in January. So this may be the big announcement he was working on. But what do you guys think? Canelo and Jake Paul. Jake Paul's been in boxing 5 years. Canelo Alvarez has been in boxing since he was a kid. Been a professional since he's 15. He's fought the likes of Mayweather, Cotto, Danny Jacobs. So many off the top of my head. Pero Angulo. He fought Munguia and Berlanga, and Austin Trout, and so many legends on his resume. Shane Mosley and James Kirkland. And Canelo works very hard to be at the position that he's in. A 4-division champion and undisputed at 68. And him and Jake Paul, marketing-wise, would be a massive, massive fans. Everyone knows Canelo is a rock star. Everyone knows Jake Paul is very popular. It's hard to top Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, but if there's one fight that could top it, this may be it. So it's going to be interesting. And Jake Paul, he shared the ring with Mike Tyson. And a lot of people want to see revenge. Even Canelo said that he would fight him in revenge for Mike Tyson. So this may be on Netflix again. And if it is, that was a movie. They really invested everything.
David Benavides has also expressed his opinion on the fight. He believes that before retiring, Canelo should fight him instead of Jake Paul. Benavides argues that both he and Canelo have multiple titles and are among the greatest in the sport. He sees himself as a legitimate challenge for Canelo, unlike Jake Paul, whom people view as someone attempting to bring entertainment to boxing rather than real competition.
Career is over, he will have fought David Benavides.
True. I think it will happen. Like I said, I just got to keep doing what I'm doing. I think now what I've showed is that, I'm a big enough name. David Morrell wasn't really that known, but we still sold out of 20,000, 20,000 people in the T-Mobile Arena. I'm sure the pay-per-views are pretty good. So I think I'm making my case, and this, I still have a lot of room to grow. So by the time Canelo, I don't know when Canelo's going to retire, but, by the time maybe in a couple years, this fight will probably be even bigger than it was when they first, when people were first talking about it. So I'll have more titles. Canelo probably have more titles, and it'll just make it for a bigger fight. Kind of like, Mayweather Pacquiao.
Yeah. In the last couple of years, did it ever get close enough to the point where you actually thought it was going to happen? Did it ever get to the goal line, so to speak?
I mean, I don't know about the paperwork, that side, but I felt like it was really close happening because I did everything I was supposed to do to get the fight. And like I said, the people want the fight. So these whole past 2 years, I thought it was going to happen.
Regardless of the criticism, there is no denying that Jake Paul has changed the boxing landscape. He has introduced the sport to a new audience. People who weren't even interested in boxing before are now watching. Because of him, his ability to market fights and attract millions of viewers has reshaped how boxing events are promoted.
Jake Paul, I mean, as of right now, for what he's doing, it's good for what he's doing. But once he fights a real fighter, it's going to be bad.
Have you been impressed?
But one thing I like about him, one thing I do like about him, he's selling it. He's selling it, and he's making good money, and he's entertaining. I like it.
Is he? And Floyd, there are many people who believe you're the most talented fighter ever. Period. So whatever you say to this question, I think is important. Are you impressed? Does he have boxing ability, or is he just an entertainer who has a lot of fans and can promote a fight and has fought lesser opponents, or is he actually talented?
As long as he continues to fight MMA guys and YouTubers, he's going to continue to look good and shine. But once he fights a real fighter that can really fight, it's not going to be that good.
does he have the ability with what you've seen to continue to mold himself into somebody who can actually, he told me before his goal is to fight Canelo. So that's, where his mindset's at.
It get fucked up by Canelo. Oh, I'm sorry. Just TMZ.
You can curse.
I apologize, but
no apologize about.
There's no way he get demolished. But for what he's doing, as long as they keep getting YouTubers and keep putting them in there with MMA guys.
After his highly publicized fight with Mike Tyson, Jake Paul has repeatedly called out Canelo Alvarez. Paul has made it obvious that Canelo has been on his radar for a long time. Despite the doubts and mockery from boxing fans, he remains persistent in pursuing this fight.
Where does the spectacle go from here? What's the next name? Like, who does he fight that can outdo Tyson? Because
he wants Canelo.
Okay.
He's calling out Canelo. He also called out.
That's who he's calling out.
He also called out Conor McGregor
in an MMA fight.
In MMA, where he is like 2.5 times bigger than Conor McGregor.
I don't think that will necessarily outdo Tyson. Might have been it. Like, this was a great spectacle,
dude,
but
Canelo, because he would actually get beaten that one.
Yeah. It is several shades beyond infuriating to see you guys set up a Jake Paul Canelo match that makes me want to fight all of you.
When Jake Paul fought Mike Tyson, many people laughed at the idea of the match. However, that event ended up bringing attention to women's boxing. As well, the women's fight on that same card received significant viewership because people tuned in for Jake versus Tyson. This helped make the entire event successful and engaging for fans.
If you look at the Tyson Jake Paul debacle, everybody laughed at the main event, but they were exposed to one of the best women's fights of all time in Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, the rematch. So if there's something in it that can bring exposure to boxing in that regard, it's a slight win for the sport. But I do agree with Rick. I think that it would be great to see the mainstream public really amped up for a pure boxing fight rather than a freak show.
Despite calling him out, Jake Paul has always admired Canelo Alvarez. From the start of his boxing career, Paul has expressed his respect for Canelo's abilities and personality. He has stated that he genuinely likes Canelo, even though he wants to fight him.
Do you have a call out in mind? Or are you kind of just going to see where it takes?
No, I mean, I do. It's Canelo. This moment will prove that I'm the face of boxing, the largest attraction. Me versus Canelo at 200 pounds for the cruiserweight championship is the biggest fight, arguably even bigger than me versus Tyson, and it makes so much sense. And Canelo's on his way out. He's gonna want a payday, and I want to show the world that all the shit I've been talking about beating Canelo is actually true, and I'll have the biggest upset in the sport of boxing, and we will fight to really see who is the face. After this event, I'm gonna be claiming it. I beat his gate record. So I'm beating the ticket sales, all of that stuff. So I'm gonna be the new money man.
Sports analyst Stephen A. Smith has already cautioned Jake Paul about fighting Canelo on the Better podcast. Smith advised Paul that he is not ready to confront a champion like Canelo. He believes that Paul, despite his improvements, is not at the level required to compete against someone of Canelo's caliber.
You really need to stop. I hope you don't think that you're ready for some guy like Canelo Alvarez, though. You ain't that crazy, are you?
I am beyond
Please don't tell me that.
I am beyond ready. In all
Come on,
seriousness,
Jay.
I
Jay,
beat Canelo
God,
Alvarez.
Stephen A., you're just not happy with anything. First, you're like getting there with a real opponent, and then you're like, oh, you don't think you're not ready for Canelo? You're not that crazy. Well, make up your mind.
Hold on, excuse me. What is your name again?
My name is Julia.
Julia.
Yes.
Okay, I appreciate your passion. Thank you very much, but I have to say this to you. There is a middle ground. I mean, you can't sit up there and say I'm not happy with anything because I'm saying get in with a real boxer, but in the same breath, I'm like, you ain't ready for a world champion. But I mean, that's not an insult. I'm not insulting you. I'm not saying you'll never be ready for him, but you don't go from fighting UFC fighters to Canelo Alvarez.
But I'm beating world champions in sparring.
Okay, I didn't know that.
That's what I'm saying. And so, but this is what they say fight a real boxer, and then I'm like, all right, give me Canelo, and then they're like, you're crazy, shut the up. So it's kind of like, what do I do?
You fight someone lower than Canelo. Canelo's crazy.
But the thing is Canelo is old. Canelo is looking like he could barely beat Triple G, who's
Jake Paul explained why he wanted to fight Canelo. He recalled how people doubted him when he called out Nate Diaz, yet he proved them wrong. He set a goal to challenge Canelo within 2 years. And now that time has come. According to Paul, he is simply following through on his ambitions and proving his doubters wrong. If it happens, this fight will be one of the biggest spectacles in boxing. Whether Canelo takes the fight seriously or not remains to be seen, but Jake Paul is determined to make it happen.
3 years ago when I was calling out Nate Diaz and all of these big names, Anderson Silva, all of these people, and they said, you don't have the right to call them out. And then I manifested it, got the skill in the gym, got to their level and above, and then beat them. It's literally just, I'm repeating the playbook now. I'm predicting what's going to happen 3 more years from now.
So I'm
going to get to his skill level and beat him. And I have a weight advantage, a size advantage, a height advantage, a reach advantage. And he's super skilled. I just went 10 rounds. Me and Canelo can go 10 rounds. Like, come on.
You face off with Canelo today. What happens?
I would lose. But in 2 years, I have one of the greatest self-belief systems in the world. And I know what I'm capable of. And with this new team, the experience I'm getting in the ring under the lights, I believe in 2 years, I can give Canelo a serious fucking run for his money.
Adore you, my viewers. Thank you. Complete video watch.